Hey, what's up guys? Sir Emanon here, and today I'm going to be bringing to you a bit of a different style of deck profile today, and that is going to be for a tag duel tournament that I actually participated in this past weekend at my locals. So yeah, I just moved back into Philly for the new semester for school. That's why I haven't been uploading. I was just busy moving in and all that good stuff. But yeah, here we are now, and I've been a bit settled in, so I decided to hit up locals yesterday. They actually recently revised some of the rules on Konami's website. So if you guys want to check those out, I'll have the link in the description box down below. But basically, if you guys aren't aware of how the tag format works, players are basically, obviously competing as teams, and you get to share a combined life point total of 16,000 life points. There is no siding involved, so it's just a 30-minute round, best of one. Pretty much, just standard Yu-Gi-Oh procedures. There are some minor differences. For example, players share their field, but you get like two separate fields. So you get a field and your partner gets a field. But like your fields are shared, your graveyards are shared, and like the fourth player gets a battle phase. There's a bunch of logistics that you guys, could read up on, like I mentioned before. But yeah, so I spent a little bit of time just kind of thinking on what could possibly be the best deck or decks to play. And as most of you guys already know, as I'm sure you guys are expecting, a lot of the format revolves around this card, Ancient Leaf. So basically, this card is just straight up a pot of greed. If you have 9,000 or more life points, you pay 2,000 to draw two, which isn't once per turn. So yeah, we tried to figure out how to best abuse this card. And we decided that, obviously, as you can see, we picked True Draco because we just figured that the myriad of draw cards would just be insane, especially in a format where you don't have to worry about like side deck hate, such as, Evenly or Reboot, or like they'd have to be maining stuff like Twin Twisters, but we even have stuff to account for that. So yeah, just having the most linear game plan and playing a very ignorant strategy was probably the best way to ensure that we would, do pretty well. I'll give a bit of a tournament report at the end, but there were, I believe, 14 teams. But yeah, we ended up, splitting first place. We just didn't feel like playing the final because we wanted to go home. But we went completely undefeated because our deck was just completely unfair, and we'll run right through it. So we actually ran two different lists, and I'll kind of get into the nitty gritty as we get into it. Hey guys, just gonna insert a quick little edit in here. If you guys do want to check out the double live deck profile that my partner and I did record right after the tournament, you guys can go check that out on my Team Evolve Gaming's channel. A link will be in the pinned comments down below. So starting off for monsters, I played one Dynamite, one Ignis, and three Maiden. So I was originally going to play 3-in-1 the other way around, but I actually just didn't I was not able to find two more copies of Ignis. That was pretty much the biggest reason why. But honestly, looking back on it, I think I actually prefer this ratio in this like specific build. Oh, one thing to mention about tag duels is that you assign a player to be player A and player B, and player A always goes first in your team. So I was player A. So the goal of this deck is to just play like the standard True Draco list, which is draw a billion cards, set a bunch of floodgates, and pass. So yeah, I actually just cut down on the monster lineup a bunch because with how much draw power you have, you're seeing cards like Demise a lot more frequently, so you don't really want too many conflicts there. And yeah, like Maiden being able to search itself is really good because you get so many traps just by the nature of how the deck operates. You always get to see Dynamite and stuff, and your partner gets to search traps too. So yeah, with Brandon's my partner, getting like a bunch of traps and a lot of advantage. You just want continual interruptions, and I think actually Maiden was a really good one to have going first. Yeah, Ignis is obviously really, really powerful, but Brandon maxed out on those, so that wasn't too big of an issue. But yeah, just 5 monsters. And for the spells, we have 3 Diagram and the Terraforming, of course. And nothing too much to say there. 3 of the Heritage and 3 Disciples. These cards are pretty good, not as much in my deck, but in Brandon's deck. Basically, you were able to just abuse these cards a lot more frequently because, again, you share graveyards, so Disciples can target cards in either player's graveyard, which came up a lot. So like you can, shuffle 2 from one graveyard and 1 from the other, or, you can shuffle all 3 cards from your partner's graveyard and draw a card, which is pretty good. So because we're running the same deck, we're just able to maximize on this. And then Heritage as well, because you can use your partner's cards if you wanted to conduct a tribute summon or like any extra deck summon, but tribute summons as well. You can use your partner's Draco spells and traps to tribute for monsters. So that means Heritage basically after turn 1 is always drawing 3 cards, and Disciples will always net you advantage as well. So like you always just get so much more value than you normally would. It's like you're playing a Draco mirror match, if you remember like how those went. You would always just be maximizing the value of Heritage, but Disciples gets more value as well than like even in that Draco mirror, because again you're just shuffling back your partner's cards. So yeah, that's like the only notable thing to say about those. Oh, and another thing with the Draco spells and traps as well is that if one player gets a Disciples set from field to grave, obviously you can get the pop, but the same works for your partner as well. So yeah, you're able to get 2 pops and like per card name, which means that you can have 4 spell or trap pops and 4 monster pops per turn, which adds up to just a lot of advantage. So a lot of the time we didn't even win because of the floodgates or anything. It was mostly because just the Draco cards accumulated so much card advantage. So yeah, we played 3 Ancient Leaf, which is pretty much the crux of the format. The other deck we were considering was Striker, but we kind of just considered that like Draco would be a lot better just in the grind game as like turns went on. And we found out actually in the tournament that swinging just for big amounts of damage with like huge Draco monsters was really, really good. Because 30 minutes, because people weren't really super familiar with how to play tag duels, like turns kind of took a long time. So just being able to swing for a lot of damage was really, really important. 3 card demise, of course, in this list, but in the other list we actually didn't play card demise, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, just drawing demise off Ancient Leaf or Ancient Leaf off demise is like basically how you can just best abuse the insane draw power. 3 duality. Duality is really good because of the fact that you are drawing so much. So duality just gets you to that missing floodgate or to whatever Draco card that you're missing, like getting you the heritage draws or like traps with a trigger on their turn. And also the other draw card I played was 1 Desires, which seems maybe superfluous to have with Ancient Leaf, but basically you kind of just want more draw cards as opposed to like floodgates, because if you're able to just freely activate any card that you open, stuff like Desires for example, then you're able to just access everything anyway because you're just drawing so much. You'd rather not brick on like having too many floods, whereas having like multiple draw cards is fine. And like the 1 Desires makes sure that you never draw Desires off Desires or with multiples. It's just like a 4th Ancient Leaf that is obviously more restrictive, but it gets you there in the end because like you can draw cards like Ancient Leaf off of it, which is really, really good. And then the final spell in the deck was 2 Strike of the Monarchs. This card allows you to tribute any level 5 or higher normal summon monster, and then target a face-up card in the field and negate that card's effects, then you draw a card. So basically you just chain whatever Draco card, then you chain this to stuff like Engage or Twin Twisters or like opposing like Ancient Leaves or Card Demise or whatever. You chain the Draco effect, then you chain this trigger or attributing whatever Draco you just activated. So it's basically like a 2-for-1. This is just a hedge against like main deck hate or just anything we want to stop. Better than like Solemn Judgment because that card pays half, and in a world where Ancient Leaf is so important, you don't want that. So yeah. Moving on to traps, we have just the standard Draco traps. Not much to say here except that Apocalypse is really, really insane. Just because like you can target your partner's Draco cards to use the have attack and the damage step. So you just get so many pops, and just that interaction it makes those cards way more valuable. And then the Floodgates, which is pretty typical of Draco. We got 3 Erupt, 2 Summon Limit, 2 There Can Be Only 1, and 2 Anti-Spell. I'm gonna try and fit it in the frame here. So yeah, these were all good except There Can Be Only 1. I had a misunderstanding of the game mechanics. I mistakenly thought that because There Can Be Only 1 said each player can only control one of each type of monster, that it applies to each individual player, but it actually just applies to teams as a unit. So that actually made this card a lot worse. But apart from that, like the other Floodgates are really good. You're always drawing them anyway. Anti-Spell is because we figured that a lot of the spell decks would just be faster given how Ancient Leaf is so prevalent, so we wanted something to stop that. So yeah, that's it for the player A deck. And then the player B deck was a lot different. So the Draco engine was pretty much the same, except he opted to play the 3 Ignis because he has 3, and then just 2 Maidens. So like you can just pretend that there's a 3 Ignis here. Yeah, so 1, 3, and 2. Basically, you want more Draco monsters when you're going second, and even if we opt to go first as a team, he's always going after the opponents get at least 1 turn to play. So just the Draco monsters accumulating cards, and as well as just tributing the spells and traps that my Draco monsters that are already on the field would place on the field. So for example, if I end up my turn with like Dynamite and Ignis, and he opens with like any Draco monster, like these are more than likely just going to have a trap and a spell on the field just for him to like freely just go tribute something without having to like have any setup. So like these are just free like to always summon like as just the going second player as the player B. So yeah, that's why we went with a little bit of a higher count. And like you get the 6th card guaranteed if you're player B, so that's why we didn't feel the need to like clog too much. But yeah, so the Draco engine was pretty much the same in that deck. And the 3 diagrams, the terraforming, that's all the same. The heritage and the disciples was also the same. Draco traps were the same too. So we both played like all the Draco spells and traps. You just want to max out on them because like you get to search so much. Yeah, it's just free. And then instead of floodgates, my partner opted to play hand traps. So we kind of came up with the deck lists together. So hand traps are very interesting in a deck like this. So 3 Ash, 2 Ogre, 2 Skullmeister, and whoops, you can't really see the 3 Ash. So yeah, there we go. 3 Ash, 2 Ogre, 2 Skullmeister, and we also played the Gammas. So 3 Gamma and 1 Driver. This was really, really good because of the fact that you are always going second. So just having like interrupts that are catch-all against a variety of decks, whether it be Orca Striker or Pure Striker or Draco, those are like kind of what we expected the meta to be. I know a lot of people didn't take it super seriously, but we still ended up playing a fair bit of those decks actually. So yeah, these were really, really good at stopping our opponents, and Gamma in particular was a last minute inclusion that I decided that we should play. My idea with having Brandon play this was that because people are probably going to be playing hand traps to stop us, Ash especially, but also maybe things like Droll, Gamma would serve as kind of like a call by the grave to where I don't actually have to play that card in my deck, so I don't have to make it less consistent, but he can just draw Gamma, and if he doesn't have the Gamma, I can just put something like an Ignis or a Dynamite on the field first before activating stuff like Demise if I am able to. That way I can get some value, but if not, if he has Gamma, then I could just leave my field empty, and whenever I would activate a high impact draw card, then Gamma would stop any opposing Ashes or Drills. And it actually did come up to where in round 1, we drew Gamma against our opponents who had a Droll. They ended up having a second Droll later on anyway, but it didn't end up mattering because the first one would have been the more impactful one, and that was really the game saver there, was the Gamma. And then we also played 3 Cosmic in this list. So Cosmic is really interesting because of the fact that it has some interactions with Diagram, of course, but it's also good just because we expected some mirror matches. So this would really just get rid of mostly diagrams and heritages and stuff like that. It also gets rid of Babel if people were playing Orca Striker. So yeah, that was pretty good. And we were gonna play cards like Stormforth as well, just to have more synergy with Diagram and stuff. But the idea was we don't really have to focus on clearing monsters because the Draco cards are so effective at doing that anyway. But also we're playing hand traps regardless, so it just kind of seemed too much of the same thing. And then that list also plays 3 Ancient Leaf and 3 Duality, notably no card of Demise. So yeah, the reason why obviously is the hand traps. So you don't want to be drawing the Demises when you're just playing 10 hand traps in his deck. And the way that you make up for that is by playing the obviously Heritage and Disciples, because like we mentioned, those cards just always get you pluses past turn 1 just because of how tag mechanics work. I think the tag duel rules really benefit this deck. And yeah, so the reason we played a lot of hand traps was just because it covers for Draco's weakness going second against combo based boards. and also just allows Draco to play cards it just normally doesn't get to otherwise, and play like. There were a lot of games where I just straight up didn't draw floodgates in my list, but Brandon drew enough hand traps to where we would just play like Dracos kind of the way that they were. Maybe I can't like definitively say the way they were designed, but like it sure definitely seems like it. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this deck profile. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you noticed any differences in the lighting, I actually got new lights courtesy of my sister, so shoutouts to her. She got me these lights for Christmas, and I really do appreciate them. Actually, I can show you guys. Yeah, this is a very nice light here. There's two of them actually. But anyways, I digress. What was I even saying? If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All three links are in the description box down below, as always. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys.